Evening all, welcome to Tactics and Dust. Right, what we're going to do today is look, I think, more particularly at the kind of wider tactics in the game. We're going to show you some kind of interesting, I don't want to call it lone wolf, but I think certainly the way that I'm kind of playing currently is more around how, I guess, a lone wolf would run. So I do run squads, obviously, but I think the reality is I'm not relying on them, other than ammo, pretty much. That's well, but yeah, that's almost all I need from them. So, an interesting one, and I think we'll look also, I think, at the, I guess, the mechanics and the attitudes and certainly the behaviours that people have when playing this game. It's interesting because it's fascinating. Let me tell you a quick story why I think this video came about. Was I've been playing Battlefield 4, and what I would say is, my God, people just have no consideration about dying. So they run wildly in, they spray and pay every time, and then pretty much dead. So I mean, this whole kind of concept to me was quite surprising because I guess my shooters have always been not necessarily money based. So like Dust has its economy, but I think just more around people's KD mattered to them. So it did feel that people would kind of have this hesitation of dying. Whereas what I'm seeing in Battlefield 4, and it could be because I think maybe people are just trying to be utterly pro, I don't know, or it could be just the game doesn't really punish you for dying a lot, is people are just running into areas and just going batshit crazy. Just before I carry on, that was funny as balls. Love the play look. So it's a kind of weird thing that I'm noticing, particularly with things like BF4. I've not played COD in a long time, but I'm told that is pretty reminiscent of what COD is like as well, where there's no real kind of penalty. I mean, KD is obviously, well, it's a flag you fly. It doesn't necessarily actually mean anything. Whereas in Dust, if you just throw your suits away with reckless abandon, generally it's costing you money. Generally it's a problem. But again, even then you can run free suits, blueprint suits and stuff. So I think that kind of bemused me into making this video, which I think is more around almost the mechanics of survivability. So as you just saw there, we've had a little bit of an exchange. At every point, you'll probably notice I was ready to retreat, hide, duck, cover, whatever it may be. And I think that certainly seems to be something you see in Dust, is people are a lot more aware of cover. I think you don't generally see people kamikazing around corners, unless they've got a shotgun, perhaps. But even then, you don't generally see that too much. People are not really kind of throwing themselves, or throwing themselves rather into the fray. As you can see here, great example, people are generally looking to get the advantage, they're using cover, and they're not kind of kamikazing anywhere. So interesting thought, post in the comments your opinions on this, because to me I think this is another marker of maybe what makes Dust slightly better than other shooters, is that it's not generally, again I use the word generally, there's not this kind of predisposition just to throw yourself at whatever comes at you, not really mattering if you die recklessly, whatever. Survivability in Dust is a huge amount more than BF4, and I did a little bit of a study here. This is about as scientific as finger in the air time, but what I did is I timed how long between deaths I would have in Dust, and then I did the same in Battlefield 4. And this is something I generally would probably do with most games, and it's not a scientific measure, but it's just something to show you how long are you going per life, if that makes sense. And in some games, Battlefield 4, it doesn't matter, because I think really they want you to throw troops away. So satirical post coming, so it's a bit like real war then, isn't it? Anyway, so no more of that. But I think there is this kind of feeling that troop life is pretty cheap, so it's just really about like run, die, spawn, run, die, spawn, run, die, spawn, run, die, spawn. And I'm not a fan of that. I think I quite like the challenge. I guess I'm a bit more like Arma 2 DayZ kind of person, where I want to kind of feel that my life has more meaning than a simple kind of meat popsicle running at something to try and get a kill. If I don't get a kill, oh well, I'm back in the action in 5 seconds. Woo! And that to me is a bit wrong. I don't know. I think this is, again, when it comes to game design, I think this must be a kind of calculation called cheapness of life. So, how much enjoyment are you getting is X, the length of time you survive is Y, and then, how, there's some form of calculation there that then works out how much, your value of your life is. And I would say Dust have probably done a good job. I guarantee you they didn't plan this. This is an emergent strategy by far. That all of a sudden, generally the Merc will not die more than, you'll probably live longer than 30 seconds per round, okay? Unless you're playing an ambush, unless you're playing against some very good people, chances are you're not going to be kind of splashed around the map too much, which I think is kind of cool. This is... again, somebody posted a comment in one of my last videos, which was that I was apparently sucking up to CCP. So I'm going to take a very kind of clear strategy on that. CCP have no fucking idea what they're doing when they design this game. A lot of this is luck. Haha! See, I'm one of you still. But seriously, I think a lot of this is luck. I think they probably didn't design a game like Battlefield 4 where, to be honest, there's no real... your fittings and your modules are not really there. It's just about what kind of scope you've got. It's all very stock solution, whereas in Dust, you can engineer a suit and your skill is certainly within that kind of ability to fit. And I think with Dust, you definitely survive longer and there's more value to the life. Okay, so therefore, by having each Merc worth more, than just a throwaway piece of meat, you actually get more invested within the game. And I think this is why the people that play Dust are probably a bit more hardcore than those that are playing Battlefield 4. Hang on, don't rage. I don't mean in terms of their love of the game. I mean in terms of maybe their kind of skill to thrive, to survive kind of thing. I'm sure a lot of you are disagreeing with this, and don't get me wrong, you could be right. I think it's just a feeling I got from certainly playing a number of shooters lately that generally, Dust does give you this feeling that you're trying to preserve your character. You're trying to fight and win a war, whereas Battlefield 4 was literally just press a button, spawn, run around a corner, shoot. You got someone. Someone shot you in the side of the head, dead. Now, the better you get at that game, obviously the higher KD you're going to have and the less that's going to become. But the feeling is that the mechanics inherently support a game where you run around a corner, die, respawn, run around a corner, kill. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's just the way they've designed these games. They are designed with less... How can I put this nicely? They're designed with a lot less thought behind the action that's going on. Whereas, and this is why I would say Dust is quite tactical. My thesis rests. If you disagree with me, well, sod off. No, I kid. Post in the comments if you disagree with that. I personally feel that this, the Dust feels a lot more tactical, feels a lot more, I guess, depth than what I've seen so far of Battlefield 4, which feels very much a casual shooter where pretty much nothing really matters. You could die 1 billion times and there's no penalty for that. In fact, it's almost you probably get an achievement for that. Achieves for doing that. Whereas I think in Dust, if you die 1 billion times, well, you've lost your money and you probably suck. So there is this kind of more, I guess, hardcore feeling when it comes to Dust. But this could just be because we played the beta only of Battlefield 4, and I'm citing Battlefield 4, but I'm talking a lot of other games as well. It doesn't feel that there is the kind of same weight behind the tactics, the game, the kind of reward, not just to throw yourself at the enemy in a kind of completely stupid way and actually try and win and persevere and preserve each life that you have, because at the end of the day, if each suit is costing you, I don't know, 150k ISK, then there is a hell of an incentive to not die, and that is absent in its entirety in Battlefield 4. So there we go. This is a funny one. I do like Battlefield 4, don't get me wrong, and I think certainly we're gonna do a massive video series on it already. The artwork is being formed. But the thing to bear in mind is that I think they're very different games, they're very different styles, and I think to be honest, I enjoy them both for what they really give you. I think the franticness of Battlefield 4 is yet to be matched. Okay, and I think this is where Dust really could take a lesson out of their book, because quite frankly, the franticity, if that's a word, is excessive in Battlefield 4 to the point of overload. It's great and I love it. I think it's quite, your heart races when you play it. So, that's always quite nice. But as it goes, I think, we've got our new EP who, again, people think I was kind of sucking up to him. I can't get you guys. If I'm nice to people, you think I'm being a suck up. If I'm horrible, you think I'm being evil. Make your mind up. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. We're going to do more of these. I think this really is just, again, filler, if you like, to say, I think both games are great. they have very different things. So don't just think you're going to kind of drop Dust and get what you want from what you wanted from Dust in Battlefield 4, and also vice versa. I think there are certain, there are absolutely niches for both games, and having played both of them quite a huge amount now, I'm certainly seeing them evolve and develop in that fashion. Oh well, there we go. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.